has now entered a critical phase with overwhelming number of cases and rising deaths. As health workers too have started testing positive for coronavirus, even services at the country's oldest hospital were disrupted yesterday. With the government evidently confused over its work plan to curb the rising infection, public are well advised to take maximum precautions in our fight against COVID-19. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. Coronavirus cases exceed 40,000 mark. Kathmandu Valley alone reports over 480 cases, 11 deaths reported in the country yesterday. Services at the capital's Bir hospital obstructed as 71 health workers, including doctors, test positive for coronavirus. Qatar amends labour laws to remove controversial kafala employment system. New minimum wages set to benefit Nepali migrant workers. And Andy Murray stages a stunning comeback to move into the second round of US Open. Serena Williams also advances into round 2. A total of 48 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported this morning from Chitwan and Dhulikhel. 35 positive cases of coronavirus were reported from the COVID-19 laboratory of Bharatpur Hospital and 13 from Dhulikhel COVID-19 laboratory. Among the newly infected, 41 are from Chitwan, 3 from Nawalparasi and 1 each from Dhanusha, Rupandehi, Siraha and Bara. With the addition of the new cases, the infection tally in the country has climbed to 40,577. Meanwhile, 1,069 COVID-19 cases were confirmed in the country yesterday. Speaking at the Delhi press briefing, spokesperson for the Health Ministry, Dr. Jageshwar Gautam, informed that a total of 12,088 swab samples were tested yesterday through the PCR method, taking the test tally to over 700,000. The Kathmandu Valley once again reported a record high 481 new cases yesterday. The highest 393 cases were reported in Kathmandu district alone and 58 in Lalitpur and 30 in Bhaktapur. The numbers in Kathmandu Valley have more than doubled in just over 2 weeks to reach 4,241. Likewise, 91 cases were confirmed in Rupandehi, 56 in Sunsari, 45 in Chitwan, 40 in Bachang, 33 in Baki and 32 in Lomjung yesterday. Meanwhile, 22,178 people have been discharged as of the latest updates, with 768 individuals being discharged yesterday, taking the recovery rate to 55%. Meanwhile, 11 deaths due to COVID-19 have been confirmed in the country, taking the death tally to 239. Health services at Bir Hospital, which is the first and largest hospital of Nepal, have been affected as large number of staff, including doctors, tested positive for coronavirus yesterday. More than 70 staff, including 11 doctors and 12 nurses, tested positive for COVID-19, and this has disrupted regular services in the hospital. Director of Bir Hospital, Kedar Century, has said that the rising number of cases has affected the service delivery. According to the hospital source, staff working in emergency department, OPD, dental, ENT, laboratory and account sections have tested positive for the virus. The hospital administration has decided to suspend OPD services from today. Likewise, the pharmacy inside the hospital has been closed after 2 medical staff working in the store tested positive. The hospital staff have accused the hospital administration for poor management and said that the hospital failed to provide adequate PPE sets and gloves, among others. 16 staff, including 3 doctors and 6 nurses at the trauma center, have also tested positive for the virus. Vice Chairman of the ruling Nepal Communist Party, Bamdev Gautam, has been called by critics as an unstable leader in Nepalese politics, given his changing stances and aspirations. In a bid to display his power to the ruling party's leadership duo, Gautam who had lost in the parliamentary elections, floated a 6-point proposal when the inter-party dispute had heightened within the ruling party. However, leader Gautam is now lobbying for a seat at the National Assembly that analysts say is against his own political stance and the public mandate. We have more in this report.
The ruling Nepal Communist Party back in January had proposed to appoint Bamdev Gautam, who has been considered as a key player in the ongoing power conflict between two chairmen, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and Executive Chairman Pushpa Kamal Dahal, for the vacant post of the National Assembly. Back then, Gautam, who was closer to the Dahal-led intra-party faction, had demanded for an amendment in the constitution that would allow him to contest for the post of Prime Minister. In a bid to garner more support from the party's Secretariat Committee, Prime Minister Oli not only appointed leader Gautam as party's vice chairman, but also formed a task team under the leadership of senior leader Madhav Kumar Nepal to lobby for constitution amendment. However, seeing that his political aspirations were challenged, leader Gautam rejoined the Dahal-led faction and sought Prime Minister Oli's resignation from both posts during the Secretariat meeting. Later, Gautam again turned to Oli's faction and floated a 6-point proposal. Now the chairman duo have agreed to resolve the ongoing dispute, leaving Gautam politically stranded. Gautam is now lobbying to be appointed as a member in the upper house, which critics say exhibits his unstable and opportunist nature. Leader Gautam's aspiration to be appointed as the upper house member is linked with the earlier decision made by implementing the party's secretariat. However, the decision itself has been questioned by many. Leader Gautam's stand, experts say, is likely to affect the party's power equation, Prime Minister Oli's strategy, and the appointment of Finance Minister. Political analysts have said numerous times the then CPN-UML had split due to the ambitions and unstable nature of leader Gautam. Despite losing in the elections, Gautam has been persistent in entering the upper house and also intends to become the Prime Minister even if it requires an amendment to the constitution.
We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. In a bid to address the scarcity of fertilizer, the Nepal government has urged the government of Bangladesh to lend 50,000 tons of urea. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli made the request during a telephone conversation with his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina yesterday. The government took diplomatic initiatives as Agriculture Inputs Company and Salt Trading Corporation failed to import fertilizers. The government is planning to return the borrowed fertilizer to Bangladesh by November. Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister Ghanshyam Bhushal has shown reluctance in taking actions against officials who fail to produce fertilizers in time. According to a press statement issued by the Foreign Ministry, both the Prime Ministers held discussions stressing on regional cooperation for the bilateral trade and economic development and prosperity. Qatar, which is one of the major labor destinations for Nepali migrant workers, has made a few amendments to the country's Labour Act with the intention of facilitating migrant workers. Under the amendment, the kafala employment system, under which workers were treated like bonded labourers, has been removed and new minimum wages have been determined. Around 400,000 Nepali migrant workers in Qatar are expected to benefit from the amendment. We have more in this report.
Qatar's labor law had been heavily criticized by many countries, the International Labour Organization and international human rights organizations. Qatar practiced the kafala employment system, under which any worker would require their employer's permission before switching jobs. Migrant workers were compelled to submit their passports as a guarantee of their commitment to their job. Likewise, the previous laws did not hold employers accountable to their workers. This, labor rights organizations and activists called a practice similar to bonded labors. In a bid to make employers more accountable, the government of Qatar amended its labor laws this week, removing the controversial kafala employment system and setting a new minimum wage. Likewise, with the amendment, migrant workers will now be able to switch their jobs without having to require a no-objection letter from employers. The minimum wage for a non-skilled migrant worker has been set at 1,000 Qatari Riyal, a month equivalent to 32,000 rupees. Previously, the wages for non-skilled workers was between 600 to 700 Qatari Riyal. The change in the act has shown that the Qatari government has accepted minimum ethics of international human rights. Labor rights organizations have welcomed the Qatar government's move, calling it an attempt to maintain labor ethics. The international community has lauded the Qatari government's decision and has urged for the effective implementation of the amendment.
In our Public Voice segment, we had asked transport entrepreneurs and daily wage workers in Arghakhachi what problems have they been facing due to prohibition on transportation. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
हामी चालकहरूलाई बिहान साँझ के कसरी गुजारा गर्ने हो भन्ने स्थितिमा पुगेको छ। गाडी चल्दा हामीलाई सहज रूपमा हुन्थ्यो।
चैतदेखिको लकडाउनले गर्दा हामी एकदमै मारमा छौं। अब यसमा चाहिँ सरकारले पनि खासै चासो दिएको अवस्था छैन।
लकडाउनको मारले गर्दा कुनै पनि काम नपाएर ड्राइभरहरूको तलब दिन नसकेर उनीहरूको जान केटाकेटी पाल्न समस्या परेको छ।
गाडी चलाउन पाइएको छैन। हामीलाई चाहिँ घर जीविका चलाउन धेरै गाह्रो भइरहेछ। साउसँग अब तलब भत्ता माग्न पनि मिलेको छैन।
Time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: what should be done to protect the unemployed and the poor population? The options are: option A, government should provide relief packages; option B, social initiatives should be taken; and option C, involve them in development works. The voting for the question is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.